Let me ask you one question. Would you be able to describe your personality in just one word? What would it be? Now, what if I asked you to give an explanation for that word? How did you become that way? For example, me, I would choose the word perfectionist. And being a perfectionist, I'll give you a more extensive reasoning for why I chose that word. So first, what does it mean to be perfect? Is it simply about having good grades in school or having good business performance? Or should one also have a flawless character? Money? There is not a clear recipe for that, obviously, as everyone has different standards. However, most of the people will nod and agree upon the things I've just listed to call oneself perfect. Yet, there are some people who just need more and want to be better. We call them perfectionists, and I consider myself one of them. Being obsessed with perfection is like this: spending an entire day to finish a task when others need just a few hours. Paying attention to one trivial thing for all day long. Everything in a perfect order when taking notes, drawing diagrams, or arranging files. Completing assignments 1 month before the due date. Never allowing your personal space to be messy. Not going to sleep before the daily to-do list is all ticked off. But sometimes, being perfectionist can be beneficial. Teachers love it, for example. By the high standards I set for myself and the time I spent to make it through, I habitually became punctual. I made less obvious mistakes as I care for everything to its smallest detail that others would just ignore. When teachers, other students, or my parents describe me, they will probably use words such as diligent, has great time management skills, and hardworking. And as a perfectionist, I couldn't get enough of these descriptions because they made me feel proud and fulfilled. But as you can imagine, it wasn't all a walk in the rose garden. My standards got easily in the way of others, as it wasn't always easy to realize that perfectionism can be good for me, while it may not be so good for others. When I faced an unexpected event, I couldn't cope with it. When I had my plans specifically set, the people around me had to adjust their plans to mine. So, as you can probably guess, I didn't have many friends who were willing to put up with this. More and more people leaving, the continuous pursuit of flawless products, the need of superb performances, and setting unrealistic goals made me wonder. And I began to question, why do I have to be so perfect? Why can't I have normal expectations as others do? And why am I so obsessed with unnecessary details when clearly there's more to life? These questions drove me to find the reason behind, the real cause of my perfectionism. I started to ponder, could it simply come from my family trait? Was I born that way, or were there other external factors that affected in building the present me? As I was thinking about it more and more, a memory from my childhood dawned on me. I was finally able to remember the moment that I first felt my life would be different from others. It was a day when I heard my mother's story of her miscarriage. It was a day when I was 8, when I overheard my parents talking about a child that I wasn't aware of. It was a child with no name, no gender, nor age. It was a child who came as a gift to our family so quickly, but gone so quickly. It was the child to be my older sister. Actually, the miscarriage happened before I was born, so I can say with confidence that I do not have any responsibility for this event. However, I couldn't. I didn't want to. I wanted to deal with it as if I had the whole responsibility for her death. I know this probably sounds crazy to you, but there was no other explanation for that 8-year-old girl. I knew I couldn't bring the child back to life, but just consoling my parents or feeling sorry for the child wasn't good enough for me. The only way I could think of was not only live my own life, but also the child's. Then I started to see my world differently. I realized that there were much more advantages given to me that I'd taken for granted. I started to learn how to appreciate things. Rather than certainly accepting, I started to value my life even more. The way to value my life for me was to be perfect in every aspect of it, to be twice organized, twice fast, and twice complete. At first, the responsibility I was feeling for the child wasn't a burden at all. I rather felt proud of myself, which only motivated me further and drove my perfectionism. Yet, as I was getting older and my life was getting busier, my working habits were harder and harder to sustain. It was tougher to keep friends or other relationships. The cycle of stress and tiredness was never ending because of the overpressure that I set on myself. And that was the time when I realized that I was being a perfectionist because of a story that didn't belong to me. At first, overcoming this realization was difficult. Even the attempt was. I believed I was already accustomed to the high expectations, and just achieving below the highest level was close to impossible. However, I knew that that was wrong. I forced myself to stop being the perfect machine I used to be and actively thought about the choices I was taking. I chose the option to be selfish for the first time. I chose the option to redesign my own life. By setting more realistic goals and figuring out what my values actually were, I realized that imperfect results do not lead to the punitive consequences that I have expected and feared. I was able to see that it is possible to be the same daughter, same friend, and a student without being what I consider to be perfect. Actually, I don't consider myself perfectionist anymore. So now, I'd like you to go back to the word that you chose to describe yourself. Does it really reflect your true inner values, both your strengths and weaknesses? For me, rather than the word perfectionist, organized fits me better. And as I know now, realizing what truly describes me is a lifelong process. So I challenge you to keep questioning yourself. Are your expectations solely set by yourself? Are they truly what you want? Thank you.